Hello and welcome back to another episode of the TheSportsPodcast. This is episode 7, recording this on Wednesday, December 7th. I'm Chris Collings, here with my co-host,
Nolan and Thode. All of our stats are as of Monday.
Monday or Sunday. I know I have my team stats are as of Sunday, December 4th, so I'm missing out on Monday, Tuesday, and tonight's games.
Yeah, so today we're going to be discussing the NBA as it's already the quarter season mark.
Yeah.
I
think it's been the most exciting sport so far. Football, obviously not. I think the winter discussion is mostly between hockey and basketball. I think basketball's been a lot more entertaining than hockey so far.
Yeah, I feel like with hockey, I don't know. We'll get into it in our next episode. We'll be talking about hockey, but yeah, definitely a lot to talk about with the NBA.
Basketball's been great though.
I've been enjoying the season so far.
Me too.
So pretty much just we're gonna be Curtis and I each chose 3 teams that we felt like deserved, our coverage.
Deserve some recognition from
6
us.
total teams. We're just gonna go in depth on those, and then we're gonna do a little bit of quarter season, award races, stuff like that, bring in some stats to you and just talk about, what we've thought of the season so far.
Yeah, a little quarter season update for you guys, and basically, if we were the only media members, this is how all the voting would end.
Yeah.
So, I guess I could start off. We'll talk about our hometown Toronto Raptors, as they've been very exciting this year. I've enjoyed watching them as they're a 500 team. It's still really fun to watch. Basically, the notes I have for them is that they're just a low seed right now, but like as you predicted them to be the 4 seed, they're a low seed right now for that. But I feel
it's a tight race in the East.
Yeah, exactly. The East is super tight, and they will climb. The defense has been so much fun to watch. All the lanky defenders and the Nick Nurse's system for closeouts and everything like that. It's just so much fun to watch them play defense. They're such a grit and grind team. My final note says it reminds me a lot of the grit and grind Grizzlies with Mike Conley. Mike Conley is our Fred VanVleet. Yeah. And then everyone else just part of it. I guess that makes Siakam is Zach Randolph.
Yeah.
It works perfectly. I love it.
Yeah.
But that's my take on the Raptors this year so far.
I've been enjoying them. I think when you talk about their defense, I'm not sure if all the photos from this post that I saw were from this year, but it was I think it was a TikTok. It said POV, the Toronto Raptors are defending you. And it was a photo of Embiid being swarmed by 5 Raptors defenders, Giannis being swarmed by 5 Raptors defenders, etc. So yeah, I feel like the expectation for the Raptors this year was to take a bit of a step up. I think if you're going to look at any disappointments, obviously, record-wise, it's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But in terms of players, I feel like Scotty Barnes has been,
He could have taken a little extra step, but he's doing basically what he did last year, which I will never complain about because he was great last year.
But I think he's doing what he needs to do, obviously. I think if he starts to kind of take that step up, that's where they're going to win more games and become a lot harder of a team to beat. I just feel like my concern with the Raptors every single year since Kawhi's departure has just kind of been the lack of number one scorer kind of thing.
Guy, the killer.
And Siakam's been it for some games this season. Obviously, he's missed time, which has hindered the Raptors, but I don't know. It's more of a score by committee team.
It is. It really is. It's not like Fred VanVleet's going to carry you to a win with his scoring. It's just like you said, Siakam has carried them for a few games, but in the games he carries them, he also drops a triple-double. It's not like he's only scoring. He'll drop 27, 10, and 11, which is so much fun to watch. Again, as a Raptors fan, watching Siakam when he was healthy earlier this year, incredible.
Yeah, I think if you look at Scotty Barnes being disappointed to not have taken that step forward, I think you can look at Siakam. And last year, I know he was an all-star. He didn't make an all-NBA team, though. I remember.
All-NBA third team.
He might have made third team, but I remember people were upset about that or whatnot, whether he was going to make it or not. I think this year for sure,
if he's healthy.
If healthy the whole season and the stats he's putting up, he's on an all-NBA team.
Well, yeah, he's averaging 24, 7, and 9, which is just crazy.
9 assists? 9 rebounds.
9 rebounds, 7 assists.
Yeah, it would make sense.
And he's shooting 35% from 3, which I think for Siakam is one of the most important things, as he is a guy that's a shaky floor stretcher. But so far this year, I've not been scared when he shoots it.
Yeah, exactly. I think there are other players on this team where I'm kind of like a little bit hesitant when they throw it up. I feel like
Precious this year has been that for me.
Yeah.
He's shooting 18% from three. It's been a little abysmal.
I just think this Toronto Raptors team, for them to only be, 500, I feel like that's not too bad. I feel like
not bad. A lot of injuries.
And close games too, and they're staying in it. The other night they played the Celtics.
Yep, stayed in that one.
Took them to a close game. It took a 20-something point second half from Jason Tatum to overcome the Raptors, and Jaylen Brown almost had a triple-double.
Yeah, those two, Jaylen Brown and Tatum, have been averaging 30 points a game each in their last 5 games.
Yeah, and the Celtics are the best team in the NBA record-wise, so for the Raptors to play a close game to them, I think, there's positives to look, to come from that, for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's like, I think this Raptors season, there's not many negatives to look at. One negative, I guess, would just be Gary Trent Jr. not really taking the step forward I thought he would. I thought just more shots would fall, or he'd be getting to his spots a lot more. But, I mean, it just looks like he did last year. He likes to chuck the shots, but it's just... If he gets to his spot, it's a good look, but he doesn't do it enough, I feel like. And so,
what are his steals numbers? Because I remember
steals numbers this year
1.6.
1.6. He's averaging like 2 last year, but he averages 1.6. Freddie averages 1.8. OG is averaging 2.3 steals. And
he's the league
block.
leader.
So
in steals,
it's like Gary Trent had 2 per game last year, but there's a lot of steals.
Yeah, I mean, as long as
Raptors are, I think, 3rd in the league for steals, only behind the Pelicans and one other team I don't know.
Yeah, which doesn't surprise me. I mean, the Raptors are kind of, their defense is their team. Not fully.
Oh, no, but I fully agree. That's what I have written down pretty much. It's just we're not a very good offensive team, and we're a great defensive team.
I think if this team's defense was as good as its offense, the Raptors would be bottom 10 team in the league.
Actually, so there's a lot of weird things about that, because in points per game, we're 19th in the league. In pace, we're 24th. For field goal percentage, we're 26th, and for 3-point percentage, we're 26th.
Yeah.
And assist per game, we're 24th in the league. Those stats are garbage.
Yeah.
But their 12.9 offensive rebounds a game is 3rd, I think it was.
Second chance points are huge.
And surprisingly,
that goes a lot to the size of the Raptors.
Their offensive rating is 113.5, which is 12th in the league, and their defensive rating is 112.1, which is 7th. So a positive offensive versus defensive rating is very important. And basically, what those stats tell us is that if the offense can start clicking a little more, we're going to be a top 10 team in the league in defense and offense. And that is pretty much how you know the success is coming. Basically, it's an efficiency thing. I think if this Raptors team could just make a few more shots, we'd be winning at least 2 to 3 more games than we have already. And we'd be... I mean, the Raptors are looked at in the power rankings as a pretty top team, but we'd be like serious threats. I think another thing that would make us a serious threat is a few trades. So I'll get into some trade candidates I have. My number one, and this is like you said with Kawhi leaving, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the killer that the Raptors need. Trade Gary Trent, trade some other guys, trade a pick, get a Canadian guy in the town. The market is insane. The fans are going to love him. And he is a bona fide killer that the Raptors need since Kawhi left.
Yeah, he's averaging 31.1 on the season, 4.7 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.8 steals, and 1.2 blocks.
Like, incredible defensively, and which is surprising for a scorer. And it's been efficient.
Yeah, I think if... OKC's actually been doing not as terrible.
Not as bad. They've been doing better than they are expecting.
A lot of credit due,
Shai's been carrying
TSGA.
So he's been on my fantasy team, so I'm absolutely loving him this year.
He's been having a crazy year. It's just a matter of, with OKC's future, with all their future picks, do they see that, SGA, he's going to be in his prime when they're contending, or is he going to be past his prime by that time where all their picks have come together? I feel like it's going to be kind of hard to take him off the Thunder's hands.
It will be.
The Raptors do have lots of, assets that they could, provide to them. I think a big thing that does hurt a chance of an SGA trade is Chet Holmgren not being able to, be healthy this season. I think in lots of ways it can impact that. One, you could know, okay, this is how good Chet is now. In 3 years, we can be contending. We still want Gilgeous-Alexander. Or even, if Chet is looking like a number one scoring option, then,
Shea is expendable.
I
do. That's a double-edged sword in my mind, too, because while in one hand, yes, if Chet was a number one option this year in his rookie year and he was proving to be that guy, yeah, sure, Shea, he's expendable. But with Chet being injured, they could be looking to lose games and potentially have a Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren front court.
Yeah.
Which would be like...
Chet,
that would
Victor,
be the tallest front court since like...
And then SGA and Giddey in the back court.
Oh, that would be insane.
They'd be a tall team too.
But I don't think they get Victor with Shea.
Yeah.
Shea's going to win them too many games to qualify for that. Because, like, if you think about it, the Spurs are way too bad. The Hornets are way too bad. And I think there's definitely going to be one more team that's worse than the Thunder. Mm-hmm. And those are the three teams that are going to get the 14.5% chances or whatever it is. Yeah. So I just, like, with Shea, I don't see this Thunder team getting a top pick. And so I think, I mean, by trade deadline, if they're really mid and want to lose, he's the guy to sell.
Mm-hmm.
My other two trades are much smaller trades, more so depth moves for the Raptors, more so just to win more games and keep being competitive. I like Devontae Graham from the Pelicans. I look at the Raptors right now and I see Freddie and no other guards other than like Malachi Flynn. But Malachi Flynn is only playing 10 points a night, or 10 minutes per game.
Malachi Flynn, I feel like last year, 2 years ago, his minutes were kind of just like, okay, well, he's still not proven, and they still had, Lowry and Van Vliet 2 years ago, but it's kind of like now it's like, oh, he got drafted how many years ago, and he's still kind of whatever. So like, I definitely see him as expendable and not a consistent part of the rotation.
And the more important part of the Graham trade is the picks, because I stole this from an article. It was on Fansided for the Raptors. And they were talking about the Raptors don't get free agents very often. Mm-hmm. It's not a free agent destination, so we have to build through the draft.
Yeah.
And so I say Graham plus picks. I go into the Pelican side more later when I talk about the Pelicans. But for the Raps, it would make sense because Gary Trent's on a contract year and he could be pricing himself out of Toronto. So it'd be a great backup point guard. And it's a shooter and ball handler. He averages close to 40% from three. And he could really shine on a six-man role with this Raps team and the big bench that we have. Like, he'd be a great facilitator for all of the bigs that we have on the bench.
Yeah, I think he's on the Pelicans now.
Yeah, Pelicans, and he's their third-string point guard.
Yeah, I think he kind of got lost in the mix when he went to New Orleans. He was successful in Charlotte. He had that MIP candidate season, which was fun to see, just because he was one of their top players, and he seemed like he had a bright future. And then he goes to New Orleans, and people were hyped at the start when he went to New Orleans, but
me included.
With CJ there now, and even Brandon Ingram and Zion can facilitate the ball. Yeah,
and Jose Alvarado's not losing that bench spot.
Mm-hmm. So it's just he's kind of been put out of that rotation, and I'd be surprised to see Devontae Graham still on the Pelicans, at the end of the season.
Same here, absolutely. And then my last trade is more for the future, looking at a Kuminga or Wiseman from the Warriors. And this is dependent on if the Warriors are trying to compete still, and they don't have time for these two young guys to actually develop. This is another one I stole from Fansided. I can't remember the name of the article, but it was really well written. I know I credit the Knicks guy later. But Kuminga and Wiseman, they're not really taking those steps forward. I mean, we've all noticed it, especially in fantasy basketball. Wiseman was being drafted relatively early.
Yeah, I mean, he had a chance to start.
And he just hasn't. And I don't know if the Warriors are going to be the team to develop him into his potential. It's a hard system to be in and excel in, especially as a young player. And so for Kuzma and Wiseman, I think Toronto would be a perfect place for them to end up, to properly develop their skills, play for 5-ish seasons, and then get a fat contract somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Wiseman and Kuminga both have, great potential, but like you said, it's a matter of how patient are the Warriors going to be with those two players. I think, their value right now is probably not at its peak. They're both...
That's why I have them.
they're both now Kuminga was drafted last year, so he's in his second year, and Wiseman's in his third year, so they haven't really seen, I think that's what a lot of people were, excited about the Warriors this year. They won the championship last year, and then, those pieces like Kuminga, Moses Moody, Wiseman weren't really a part of that championship team that much, but, losing guys like Gary Payton II, Otto Porter, kind of forced them to, be a part of the rotation, and people were kind of excited that they were going to be able to take that step forward, and the Warriors were just going to be this insane mix of young talent, mix of future talent. Like, I remember seeing posts of like Kuminga, Wiseman, and Poole, and then like people saying like they're going to be
big three.
Yeah, they're going to be a dynasty throughout.
Oh, yeah, I saw all the same things, and it's just like.
And I think, Jordan Poole obviously has solidified himself as a rotational player,
I
part of that Warriors team.
Rotational player. He's solidified himself as a Warrior for the future. I mean, with the contract especially, but like even with his play.
Yeah, and so, but I feel like Kuminga and Wiseman are a few steps behind. They can definitely have successful careers. It's just a matter of, is it going to be in Golden State? I wouldn't mind them going elsewhere, a little bit more opportunity somewhere else, and maybe play for a team with less expectations. You can
Just
have
like the Raptors.
you can have bad games, when you're a young player playing for other teams, and it's not as negative as when you're playing for the defending champions. When your mistakes are that much more magnified, and the expectations on you are a lot more higher.
The exact same as the Celtics. Like, it's hard to be a young player for the Celtics.
And like the Celtics shipped off their young guys for future pieces.
Yep, and
or for current pieces.
It's working out. I'd say a finals appearance. So like no chip, but I'd still say it's working out. I forgot to write down what my trade offer was to the Warriors for that, but it was Gary Trent Jr. And my thought process behind that was, again, he's going to be gone, so Raptors want to get rid of him. And the Warriors, with Klay Thompson not really being that guy, and Jordan Poole not being great in a bench role, like, he's been good. He's had flashes of being great, but he's just like...
No, I could definitely see Gary Trent fitting into this Warriors team.
I think Gary Trent would be a perfect six-man, and then move Klay somewhere else in a trade, because just you got to get rid of that contract if you're going to have Gary Trent and Poole and... like all the other contracts they have, and then you move Poole into the starting lineup with Curry like it was last year where he excelled, and then six-man Gary Trent Jr. That would be pretty deadly. He'd fit in well too because he defends and shoots, and that's pretty much what the Warriors want. And
I would be totally willing to give up Gary Trent Jr. if it's gonna bring back either Kuminga or Wiseman.
Me too, absolutely.
I think they're both worth it. Well, I'll get into my first team that I'm talking about, and a lot of NBA fans, you and I started following the NBA around 2015, 2016, and just because of the purple and I don't know what it was, but I feel like a lot of casual fans gravitate towards the Sacramento Kings as kind of just like a low-key team that you somewhat like.
You you always root for the Kings.
You always root for them, but in our fandom, they've never been good.
Not once.
Which has been very unfortunate. They've gone through a carousel of coaches. They've gone through star players that didn't work out.
Boogie is the big one for our generation.
But now with a new coach, Mike Brown, sitting at 13-9, fifth in the Western Conference, the Sacramento Kings seem to finally have a team put together. So just running through some of the stats, De'Aaron Fox obviously is, the face of the franchise. He's averaging 23.1 points, 5.1 rebounds, 5.8 assists, and 1.1 steals on the season.
Chose him over Halliburton, and I mean, this season, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, Halliburton's great too, but for the Kings specifically, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, he's shooting over 50% from the field,
which is probably the most shocking part.
He's at 51% and 38% from field. From three.
Yeah, which is also crazy for De'Aaron Fox.
And 82% from the line, and he's always been a below.
Yeah, he's not this guy.
80% kind of guy. So I think he's maybe, the numbers don't scream huge step up because he's, averaged 20 points before.
Yeah.
And the assist numbers are nothing crazy at 5.8, but he's becoming more efficient. He's being a leader, and he's leading them to win. So 13-9, it's a positive record.
For me, it's not the stats that is proving that he's taking the jump up. It's the wins. The wins are really the exact evidence that he's taking the steps that Sacramento wants.
And if I'm a Kings fan, I'd rather have a winning record and De'Aaron Fox, with a little bit less good stats than if, they were a bottom feeder team again with De'Aaron Fox,
Oh, absolutely.
doing his thing. And, when you talk about Tyrese Halliburton last year at the deadline, they kind of shockingly moved on from him. I
was shocked.
I thought that Halliburton and Fox was going to be their backcourt. It was going to be their duo, but maybe they saw something that they didn't like and they didn't, they just weren't sold on it. So they went
sold
out
on the fit for sure.
They went out and got a guy in Domantas Sabonis who's a very consistent guy. He's going to fill the sheet. He's going to do his thing. So far this season, averaging 16.1 points, so nothing crazy, but a good secondary score. 11 rebounds,
What
great
is assist numbers?
And 6.5 assists on the season.
That is my favorite stat of Sabonis's every year.
So more than De'Aaron Fox, he's been their leading assist. He's their assist leader. I think Sabonis is fitting in really well. I think last year, there were flashes of like him and Fox being a good kind of dynamic duo. The pick
I remember
and roll.
they had a really good stretch.
Mm-hmm.
But just like one really good stretch.
Yeah, and they weren't able to make the play-in, weren't able to make any noise last
sad.
season.
I really wanted them to make the play-in.
But this year they're looking to, maybe even be ahead of the play-in. I think, there's some teams below them in the West that I probably would bet on to have more consistent second halves of the season, but
yeah, for sure.
I think they're playing well, and I think a lot of the credit has to do with Mike Brown, the new coach coming in. I think he's getting the most out of his players. There was a clip of Terrence Davis Jr. He was kind of like shallow in the paint, and I think it was DeAndre Ayton came in and scored an easy bucket on him, and immediately Mike Brown, I wasn't sure if he called a timeout or whatnot, but he went and talked to Terrence Davis, and he kind of just said like, you need to make that first jump quick. You need to like be up on him, and like the very next play or something like that, Terrence Davis drew a charge on DeAndre Ayton, and like the bench's reaction and Mike Brown's reaction, like everyone was just like hyped, and it really like it's a good culture shift.
Yeah, there's life in Sacramento.
And it's not just a guy behind the bench. It's someone who's actually getting stuff out of their players.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And for bad teams, the biggest thing for them is they lose their culture. Like the Cleveland Browns in the NFL.
Yeah.
They have no culture. And then Baker kind of brought it back. And so it's like, I think Sacramento's gaining culture again. And the Beam is a huge help for that.
Yeah, the Beam, I think everybody's a fan of the Beam. When they win, they light a big, I think it's purple.
It's purple.
Purple beam out of the arena. It's just kind of like, I don't know, telling the city that they won.
One of my favorite things about the Beam is on Google Maps. If you go to the Sacramento Kings arena, it is listed as a place of worship.
Place of worship?
The Beam is listed as a place of worship, and there are already 99 plus 5-star reviews for it.
You gotta love it.
There was one review where it was like, he just talked about the Beam, and then we're guided by the fearx of the spirit of a fox. It was just some hilarious reviews. If you ever want a good chuckle, go on Google Maps, look up the Beam, and just read the reviews. It's amazing.
Yeah, two other guys I did want to mention, though, two free agent acquisitions. I actually think Herder was a trade piece, but Monk was in free agency.
Yeah.
But bringing those two guards in has really helped the team. Herder averaging 15.5 points, 3.2 assists, which is nothing crazy, but a good secondary,
for
ball
your
handler.
shooting guard, yeah.
When you have, Fox and Sabonis taking up some assist numbers there, and he's shooting 42% from three, so he's making his shots most of the time when he has them, and I think, that three-point shooting was something that, the team needed, and it's helping them, and, another player who's been able to provide that from the guard position is Malik Monk.
Yeah, he's been crazy good.
Who I think another player, he was really highly touted. I think now that I think about it, he and De'Aaron Fox played together in Kentucky. That was a backcourt.
Oh,
so
yeah,
now they're
that
being
would have been the
reunited.
backcourt.
I'm not sure why I haven't pieced that together until now, but
yeah,
it's nice to see the two of them reunited, and Malik Monk off the bench averaging 14.7 and 4.3 assists. So
wow.
He's been very good.
Crazy.
And shooting 37% from three.
On the Lakers last year, he proved that he is a very valuable rosterable player.
Yeah, he was disappointing in Charlotte.
Yeah, for sure.
He
I gave up on him in Charlotte.
Yeah,
like, it was like him, Dwayne Bacon. Like, these guys never... Well,
the thing with the NBA, too, is it's like a player can go from literally in 1 or 2 years from like, ooh, exciting player to like all right, they haven't shown me enough. They're not going to have a career. And I think a lot of people, kind of gave up on Monk and didn't really expect them to have, any success. But going to the Lakers really helped him.
Going to the Lakers and playing well for the Lakers, because anyone can go to the Lakers.
Being a bright spot in a bad season last year.
Yeah, being a bright spot in a bad season, and then being a bright spot in a big market.
And shooting 89% from the free throw line as well really helps. Fox and Sabonis are okay free throw
More
shooters.
shaky,
But
sure.
you need those kind of guys to step up. One thing I did want to note on their team is that De'Aaron Fox with 1.1 steals is their highest per game defensive leader. No one has over 1.1 blocks or steals, and I think that's maybe something to look at as an issue for this team, because their offense has been great.
Yeah.
They're averaging 119.6 points per game, which is second in the league.
That's insane. Only to the Celtics, I'm pretty sure, who are still averaging 120 plus.
And for Sacramento, you wouldn't expect a crazy offense, I wouldn't think. More so just a team that's going to win games 198 type of thing. But they're figuring it out on offense, which has been able to carry them to this point. But successful efficiency, good efficiency only lasts so long in the NBA. Some of these numbers are going to be taken down just because we're only 20 games into the season. So I think, when you talk about trade targets for the Raptors, no one specifically in mind, but I think maybe a defensive anchor type player, I think, is something that the Kings are lacking, just because, 1.1 steals for Fox is good, but the fact that that's their leading guy that's getting on the stat sheet in terms of defensive numbers is kind of not great.
They're missing out on a Herb Jones or OG Anunoby type of guy.
Yeah, I think that guy could really benefit them. And then also maybe a good stretch four that's also tall, that can be in the paint and kind of defend.
Keegan Murray not been that guy quite yet.
Well, Keegan Murray, he's been good offensively. He's averaging 11 points, 4 rebounds.
Into that role, you think?
He has 0.8 steals, which is not terrible.
No, that's good in comparison to the rest of his team.
It's a steal a game. But I think they need maybe more of a paint presence, just because Sabonis,
he's not much.
He's and when you look at their team too, Sabonis is really their only big man where you're kind of confident in him, and he can get into foul trouble, and he's not really gonna go up for those blocking attempts as often as another player. And they kind of even just bringing in a Bismack Biyombo kind of guy,
and he's not getting much run on the Suns.
Yeah, and so I wouldn't mind just some guy that, some just some shot blocker.
Honestly, just a guy, a rock. They need a rock.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm not sure on his actually can get his foul averages per game. Yeah, Sabonis averaging 3.8 personal fouls a game
with no other trustable big man.
Yeah, so you're gonna kind of want a guy to be able to throw in for 12 minutes in the game to
block a shot or two.
Exactly.
Get the bench hype
and give Sabonis a little bit of rest and make it so that he's not in foul trouble late in games. But
I like that. I like that a lot.
It's even with these defensive issues and stuff like that, the Kings are 13-9 and they're a good team. So
a fun team.
There's still lots of room for improvement. They can definitely go down. They can level out. I really hope they don't. There's a few teams every year where it's at the start of the season, I remember the Wizards last year were a top 3 seed in the East, at this point in the season, and then they
fall off.
They fell off hard. So, I hope that doesn't happen for the Kings. I think now that the culture is strong enough and the system is strong enough, especially with Mike Brown under the helm, I don't see them falling off extremely.
Yeah.
But
hopefully
a little bit of a fall off can definitely happen.
Yeah. No surprise. Segueing into a team that has fallen off and keeps falling off, and probably will till the end of time, the New York Knicks. Love the Knicks, though. I love this roster. It's not a very good roster, in all honesty, but it's fun. I like the players.
Yeah, when they made the playoffs 2 years ago,
it's not even that different of a roster from when they made the playoffs.
Exactly.
I just something changed with this Knicks team, where it's just from when they made the playoffs to now. It's just they're just two different teams. Most of the notes I have for this, most likely gonna miss the playoffs again, because this East is so stacked. I don't even know if they're a playing team. I don't think they're a playing team.
Mm-hmm. Last year they were. not.
I know.
I don't
they
think
weren't.
so.
No, they weren't even a play-in team last year.
Yeah.
So I
And the East has only gotten better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have them missing the playoff play-in again, which is crazy. But I also want to talk about the roster because the team's going to be bad. How are we feeling about the addition of Brunson? He's been playing great. I'll read off his stats. He's started every game. Oh, one quick side note for the Knicks. They've been, like, the most healthy team in the league. They've had, like, okay, so the Raptors, I'll read some just games played. Siakam's only played 13 games. These are all, it's a fun day. Siakam's played 13 games. OG's played 23. Freddie 17. Scotty and JTG 20. Boosh 19. Precious 12. It's like, Raptors haven't been too healthy this year.
No.
Knicks, they're starting 5. Randall, 24 games played. RJ, 24 games played. Brunson, 24 games played. Emmanuel Quickly off the bench, 24 games played. Cam Reddish, 20 games played. Like, Obi Toppin, 24 games played. They've been so healthy. It's been really fun to watch, just like an actually healthy team play. I enjoy watching them play, even though they're bad. But yeah, so back to Brunson. He's been... How are we feeling about him? He's been averaging 21 points per game, 6 assists per game, and 3 boards with 48% from the field, 34 from 3, and 87 from the free throw with a steal.
Mm-hmm. He's
really
potential
good.
for an MIP candidate.
My pick for MIP. I'm loving him this year.
Mm-hmm. I just feel like with the NBA awards, it's just so tough when there's not a lot of attention around the team for the awards to go to them. I mean, we'll see when I get to my MIP pick. The attention kind of faded off that player's team. But Brunson's, taken that step up and been a really good addition for the Knicks. I really like him in New York.
He's had a few really big games, a few 30 pieces, but not too many headlines.
Yeah.
Casually, have you heard about Brunson?
No.
Exactly. And that sucks. And that's just because the Knicks are bad. If the Knicks were good, Brunson would be everywhere on headlines. He's single-handedly won them at least 3 games this year, and it's being swept under the rug because it's being swept under the rug because this team sucks, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah. Do you think like a missed playoff appearance, missed play-in appearance, they could look to switch the coaching position?
Yes, please switch up Tom Thibodeau. It's just
I think last year his job was secure just because he won Coach of the Year the year before.
Yeah.
And I think that in a city like New York might be able to last you a little bit longer than you should.
David Fizdale lasted a really long time there.
Yeah.
And he was not good.
So I don't know. I think he could be an issue just because I felt like the team a few years ago kind of, adopted his style of play and played it to perfection and made the playoffs, lost to the Hawks in the first round, but they were a good team and a team that looked like, okay, this is a team in the East again. Like the Knicks are finally something
with
again.
Randall and RJ.
And quickly, no pun intended, quickly back to, being a...
Yeah.
Not him specifically. No, I'm just saying the team in general has quickly gone back to being, the Knicks that we expect,
Yeah, and it's sad. Other things that I have to talk about, and this is as well with the Tom Thibodeau coaching change. Obi Toppin, he hasn't started a game. He plays under 20 minutes a game. He plays 17.5 minutes per game, which is ridiculous. 17 and a half minutes for a big man that can shoot threes. He makes threes for a stretch there. He was making 2 to 3 a game. He rebounds well when he's actually given the chance to, and he is a reliable, efficient scorer when he's given the chance. And it's just he doesn't get given that chance enough, and so he'll have one bad game and that'll completely ruin all of his percentage stats just because he doesn't have the quantity to really have one bad game not affect him. It's like we could see a guy like Scotty have a bad game and he still averages his 15, 6, and 6. But if Obi has one bad game, his averages of like 10, 4, and 3 are going to go down to like 7, 2, and 3 or 7, 2, and 1. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because he's talented. He's the most talented underused player in the league. And in my mind, he is a bona fide most improved player in the future. Whether Tibbs gets fired or he gets traded, he's going to win most improved player when he leaves because he'll average upwards of 15 points a game after averaging like 7 for this next team for years.
Yeah. And
it frustrates the hell out of me.
He's in his 3rd season now. When the team made the playoffs and he was kind of like an afterthought.
Completely.
the excuse was, Tibbs doesn't like his rookies, and sure, he was a little bit unproven.
Yeah.
And, they had those veteran players that were ahead of him in the rotation that you could kind of make the case for. But I feel like now there's no real excuse. He's in his third year,
roster.
And he needs to get more experience. He was a top 10 pick a few years ago.
Wasn't he in the top 5 or was he like 7?
I think he was number 7, 7 or 8. I think he was 8 behind
pick.
Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes going 7th overall.
Yeah.
He's
been good.
He's been really good once Cade has gone down.
Yeah, just this is a little Pistons side note. He was shit to start the year.
Yeah.
And then he's been average. The assist numbers have come back.
Mm-hmm.
For me, for Obi, if he's gonna be a guy in New York, they have to trade Julius Randle or Mitch Robinson. Because he's just not going to get play. He's not going to get play behind Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, or Nerlens.
Hartenstein as well.
Hartenstein as well. Nerlens.
Who stepped in?
Actually, Nerlens isn't.
Hartenstein had a good start to the season. He's kind of fallen off a bit. Another player who fell off was Fournier, who's now out of the rotation completely.
They want to trade him, but that contract.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one, and I don't know what it is. Like the Knicks just have the weirdest free agent signings, in my opinion.
It makes I mean, now that we are here and we can look back on the big free agents, what the hell were the Knicks doing? I mean, Julius Randle
bringing him in was good.
He's also been
he won the MIP that year, right?
He won the MIP first year in
New
York, or he won it his last year in the Pelicans because he averaged 20 and 10. He was crazy for the Pelicans. But yeah, it's either he or Mitchell Robinson have to get traded for Obi, but Julius Randle's been very good. Shooting splits wise, for a power forward, 46% from the field, 32.5% from 3, and 78% from free throw. It's very good for Julius Randle. He's still not really as aggressive as he was in his most improved most improved season.
Yeah.
But 21 points per game, 8.5 rebounds. He does nothing defensively, and
yeah,
he's
hurts
not.
The team.
I don't know. He's not the guy. He's not the guy you can go to offensively.
No.
And I don't know. I think he needs.
He had a season where he was the guy,
and it was great.
Kind of soaked it up. But yeah, now I think
I think the expectations have ruined him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's found a home in New York, at least for now.
For now.
The fans
isn't Brunson a lefty?
Yeah.
Yep. It's the 3 lefties.
Yeah. Him, RJ,
Randall, and Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't know. I feel like on a championship team, Julius Randle cannot be a number 1 option.
No, not at all. And I think on this Knicks team, he in 3 years is going to be the number 3 option.
Yeah, I think Brunson can be a good number 2. Randall can be a good number 3. And just like the Raptors, they're missing that number 1 piece, and I keep going back to it, but in the NBA, you need a number 1 player who can take the shots. When you look at the last X amount of teams to win the championship, last year, Curry's going to be that guy to take the last shot. Giannis is going to be the guy to take or
Giannis is going to be the guy to drop 50 in Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
Like that type of guy. Killer.
Middleton also,
Middleton can take that shot. I mean, Giannis made a step back 3-pointer last year to win a game.
Yeah.
Or tie a game. Oh, God,
the year before that, they had LeBron and AD. Year before that, Kawhi. Year before that,
the Warriors with
KD. You need a superstar,
essentially.
You need a killer. It's a league where you can have a great bench, you can have a great team, but without a superstar, it is really hard to win. Just because with only 5 players on the field, or not on the field, on the court at all times, and them being able to play 40 minutes a game in the
almost
NHL,
the entire game.
In the NHL, other than guys like McDavid who play upwards of 20, forwards play 1/3 of the game, even the most elite. So.
It's not even a third.
Yeah.
It's under.
So when you look at basketball, you can be carried essentially by a superstar player, and I think the Knicks lack that.
Yeah.
And
I think the biggest thing for that is going through the LeBronto era of the Raptors had a great bench. They had great players. We had DeMar, but we lost to LeBron because he's LeBron and he's a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had our superstar. We won. I completely agree. And the Knicks kind of are hoping, I guess, maybe still that RJ is the guy.
Yeah.
But
I feel like he's a good complementary piece as well.
Yeah.
Nothing much more than that.
It's just his shooting splits haven't been good again.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go into his now. Yeah.
Yeah, if he was able to be a better shooter, he could be a lot,
good. If he was a better shooter or finisher, he'd be such a good star. But right now he's averaging 18.5, 3 assists, 5.5 rebounds on 40% from the field, 28% from 3, and 77.8 from free throw.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, and then I don't have the exact stat, but he is in the bottom 5 percentile of the league for finishing at the rim. He's horrible at it. He's still not been good at it, and that's also because the Knicks lack a lot of spacing. So he always is contested. It's also like he's in the bottom half. He's in the bottom percent in the league for making shots at the basket. He's also in the top half of the league for shooting contested shots at the basket. Yeah, and he's not a playmaker, so it's like if he's not scoring, he's not going to do anything else. It's like, I have it written down here, he's just like a poor man's Kobe Bryant. He doesn't do, like...
He's very
poor.
He's a homeless person's Kobe Bryant.
But it's just like, when you look at what he does, he shoots inefficiently, he only scores, doesn't pass, doesn't rebound very well, his defense is fine. It's not the best. It's 0.5 steals a game, so... He's a extreme
Zion to the Knicks.
Zion to the Knicks. That was one of the ones. I could very quickly go over my trades. It's also for this Knicks team. It's hard to make trades for them. Like, what do you seriously do? You dump Cap, Derrick Rose, and Fournier's contracts, but it's like, I don't know. These are I have 2 trades here that are already put together, so I just want to hear your thoughts about them. These are from Desmond Novak from Fansided, the Knicks Fansided. These are from 4 weeks ago. So the Suns get Julius Randle, no one else. And then the Knicks get Crowder, Sarge, and a 2024 second. Who do you think says no? I think the Knicks say no to that deal, unless it's a first or a protected first.
Yeah. I just think, I don't know. I don't think that's enough of a package, especially since Jay Crowder is kind of, refused to play for the Suns, and,
Dario Saric
other teams
hasn't
see that
been the same guy as he was when he was in the Rookie of the Year race, so it's like, I don't know. I don't like the package enough for the Knicks, but like
I think that's a move you can maybe do if you're focusing on
losing.
Completely tanking. But yeah, I think a second round pick, especially from the Suns,
it's not going to be
is nothing.
That's why I say it should be a protected first. But for the Suns, I think the Suns getting Randall would be huge. That would be really exciting to get. That would Suns with Randall as a third or a second scoring option, like behind Devin Booker, Ayton, CP3. I think that's the perfect fit for him. And he doesn't have to play good defense because they have Ayton, they have CP3 who's a good point guard defender, they have Mikal Bridges to defend the good wings. So it's like, I think that's a perfect fit for Julius Randle.
Yeah, it would be good. And they also don't really like CP3 has a pretty complete game in terms of his scoring package. Same with Booker. Ayton's good in the paint, but like Randle could just be their, spot up, mid-range
power
kind
forward. Like, if you're panicking, give it to Julius. He'll create a shot.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I like that.
I like that for the Suns. I think that legit puts the Suns in again, I think they're in the championship tier of teams. I think that puts them right up with the Bucks in my mind if they were to get Randle. My other trade, same article as the last, it is Buddy Hield to the Knicks. And this is more of the direction I am excited for them to go in. The Pacers will get Evan Fournier, Cam Reddish, and a 2024 second. It's a second again. And then the Knicks get Hield. I say the Pacers say no to this.
Yeah.
But this is, I think, the most exciting trade from that article. What do you think about it? What do you think about
I don't
Hield
think
on
that's
the
a
Knicks?
bad trade. I think Hield on the Knicks is good.
I love that.
Yeah.
They need the spacing. He'd be perfect at the shooting guard with Brunson, RJ, Hield, Randle, and then Mitch Robb. I love that rotation.
That'd be a good starting five, and it definitely helps the spacing. I think if you're the Pacers, I wouldn't necessarily say no. It just depends how confident they are that Reddish can be some type of piece and not just
Yeah.
gets hot for a few games.
This season, he's played 20 games. He started 8 of them. He's averaging 22 minutes a night, 8.5 points a game, 1 assist, 1 rebound, shooting 45, 30, and 88%, with about a steal and about half a block a game. So it's like, with more opportunity, maybe he takes a jump, and maybe that's what the Pacers go for.
Yeah.
And with Tyrese can find him. I just don't think Cam Reddish on the Knicks was ever going to be the right move.
Yeah.
It's just, especially with Thibs.
Yeah.
It's just like, he doesn't...
And then he had like a crazy game in the first like 3 or 4 games of the season.
It's so exciting, and then...
Yeah.
So I think he's a perfect piece to get shipped over. How the Pacers value him, I don't know. The article did say a lottery protected first, which I think is perfect. A lottery protected first in this deal is the perfect risk reward.
I hate that when you look at the the Brogdon trade though. They got Nesmith, the former first round pick. You know, Reddish, a former first round pick. Tice.
Yeah.
And like a second. So honestly,
You think a second does it?
I think it could. I think the first would definitely push that over. I definitely want to see Buddy Hield on a team where he's able to be a little more relevant than on Indiana.
It's either I want Buddy Hield personally to go to the Knicks or the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I think
the only
Lakers
two.
Would be great
That's the only 2 options in my mind for Buddy Hield. I don't want him to go anywhere else. It's gonna be boring.
Mm-hmm.
But and then other things to say about this, Knicks would be trying to compete. The only reason I say a lottery protected would be perfect because this is a move where the Knicks want to make the playoffs. And if they make the playoffs with Buddy, then screw it. That first round pick doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And if they miss the playoffs, then Buddy didn't work out. And then biggest thing for me is RJ Barrett benefits huge. And I didn't mention it for the Julius Randle trade, but again, RJ Barrett is probably the biggest winner of that deal. Because he just gets more shots and more spacing and more opportunity. And I think Hield to the Knicks, RJ, again, is a huge winner because he'd be able to create more. He'd be able to attack at the rim a lot more comfortably now than he does with whoever the hell it is stretching the floor at the 3.
Yeah.
I guess it's not really Cam Reddish. He's not really the starter. He only starts 8 games. I have no clue who the starting shooting guard is. I completely forget now.
On the Knicks?
Yeah.
It's not RJ. He plays the 3.
Who's the starting small forward on the Knicks? Right?
Yeah.
So I think Buddy Hield would be perfect for that situation. He'd slide right in. He's not taking anybody's job. And honestly, New York could just use a guy like Buddy who's consistent and will just shoot the rock for them good. Here we're finding out who starts at the 3. Cam Reddish is the guy who gets the most minutes at the 3 spot, and he started the most games.
Yeah.
So it's Cam Reddish for his 20 games played and 8 games started. He's their starting small forward, so they need a starting small forward. Speaking of which, the most exciting trade: Brandon Ingram to the Knicks. Make it happen, please. Zero clue what the package will be. This is all from my mind and from what I desperately want to happen. Oh, I want Brandon Ingram on this Knicks team. You'd have to ship off Randall, but like the Pelicans don't need Randall, so this is definitely like with Zion and JV and Larry Nance on their bench. They don't need Julius Randle.
So they already had him too.
Yeah, and they already had him. He was great for them, but they don't need him. This would definitely be a 3-team trade. Like, why not get crazy with it? I just need Brandon Ingram on the Knicks. Like, tell me that would not be the perfect place for him.
I just want them to have a star player, like.
But like, especially Brandon Ingram. Like, here I wrote down what their starting 5 could look like: Brunson, RJ, Ingram, Obi Toppin, and Mitch Robb. Give that to me. I need that. I need that so much. That'd be so good. That'd be so hype. They space the floor well. The Mitch Robb plays great interior defense. Defense is the biggest thing for this lineup. That would be horrible. I don't care. It's the Knicks. They're horrible anyways. Give me Brandon Ingram on the Knicks. But that's it. That's it for the Knicks for me. Unless they make a trade for Hield or Brandon Ingram, they're missing the plane.
Mm-hmm. Now, shifting it to a team that's, a playoff team. A team
actually hype team.
Successful. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who are 16-9, 15-9 on my sheet, but they beat the Lakers last night. So far, Donovan Mitchell leading the team, leading the way. I mean, he's averaging 29 points per game right now, just around 5 assists, 1.4 steals, shooting 40% from three, 88% from the free throw line, like a good shooter. So
he's been Donovan Mitchell.
He's been great. He's come in and been their starting, he's been their star player, been their number one scoring option, and it's allowed.
He stepped up huge when Garland got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
He was averaging a ton of assists actually in his absence.
Mm-hmm. And he's a good low key playmaker too. Like he's not gonna average like crazy numbers when it comes to assists.
We never got to see it because he played with Mike Conley, so it's not like he's gonna get assist numbers.
But he's a good secondary ball handler in terms of facilitating, and he can make really good passes too. That's what I've noticed.
He can. He really can. Watching Cavs games, you see it.
Mm-hmm. And Garland as well, great secondary piece, averaging 22 points, 7.7 assists, 1.2 steals, 40% from three. So really, like, I don't know what other backcourt is better than that in the NBA.
Nope, none.
Like,
none.
Honestly,
easily. This reminds me of like the Lillard and CJ backcourt, but better size.
Mm-hmm. And younger too.
And younger.
So they're third in the East right now. I don't know. I see this Cleveland Cavaliers team.
Hey, they're right where you had them.
Yeah. I don't know. I really like the team a lot. Last year with Mobley,
they were so hyped.
They were a fun team that kind of out of nowhere, had success post LeBron era.
Oh, completely out of nowhere in my mind. I didn't think the Kevin Love era was gonna be anything for this Cavaliers team. This is the first time they're successful without LeBron.
Mm-hmm. And so like we talked about Scotty Barnes, the sophomores haven't been taking like a huge leap forward, but I feel like last year they had good rookie seasons and they're just proving that they are good, consistent players. Mobley's stats, obviously scoring was going to take a hit with a guy like Mitchell coming in, but he's averaging 15 points, 9.2 rebounds, a steal, and a block and a half. So,
that's an incredible number still. 15-9 for Evan Mobley as a guy that I don't think anyone really saw him as a almost 15-10 like double a game player coming into the year. I saw him as a 13 points a game.
Yeah,
10.
Thought the stats were gonna take a hit for sure. 15, that's what Allen's been doing.
Yeah, 15 points a game is crazy for Mobley in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Jared Allen averaging 13.5 points, 10.8 rebounds, 1.2 blocks, and 79% from the free throw line. The team is 81% from the free throw line as a team.
Crazy.
7th in the NBA, which is really good. And free throw shooting is something that's very important when it comes down to playoffs and close games and that sort of stuff.
It's very important in this modern era as well.
Mm-hmm. Karis LeVert as well. He's been a good low-key, fifth piece of that starting five.
Yeah, good thing they kept them.
Averaging 11 points, 4.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 0.8 steals. So,
not bad.
He's been good, and he's kind of one of those guys where there's no expectation coming into any given night. He's gonna do whatever he can, but he's also has the ability to pick up the slack of a Mitchell, of a Garland if they are having a bad game.
Didn't he have a 40-piece earlier this season?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's definitely a guy to pick up the slack.
Yeah, and then Kevin Love, you talk about the Kevin Love era, but he's been a very good sixth man.
Oh, just like last year. He was a great sixth man last year, and he's been a great veteran presence.
10.4 points, 7.4 rebounds, shooting 39% from the 3-point line off the bench.
Can't ask for much else.
Yeah, I mean, a really good team. And in terms of defensive rating, first in the league. So 107.3 defensive rating, number one team in the league, number one in off opponents' points per game, 104.9.
And they have the slowest pace in the league too.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm thinking about it now. That doesn't shock me.
No,
they're very much so. They're a team that will excel in a just like slow it down,
like an 83 to 81
game. It doesn't even have to be a low scoring, but I'm like, what's the word I'm looking for? No, the opposite of a fast break heavy, like a half court game.
Yeah,
like they are built to run in the half court. They're not really built to be a great run and gun team, but like when you have Mitchell, when you have Garland to facilitate, you can pass them at any time. Mobley and Allen to pass them at any time, and then a shooter like Karis LeVert. They're like. Their offense, like, J.B. Bickerstaff must have a field day coming up with plays for this team. Like,
Yeah.
it must be so much fun to just try to come up with stuff as a coach for this team to do, because they're capable of doing pretty much anything you can ask them to.
And that's the thing. Like, I feel like what they have, what a lot of other teams in the league might not have as much, is just like the consistency in the players that they have on the court. Like,
Absolutely.
they don't really have like that guy's just got to get his minutes type guy. I feel like every player on this team is a good contributing piece. One thing that I did note down is they're like super young,
Yeah.
which really helps them. And the fact that they're the 3rd seed is significant, because with Milwaukee and Boston, it's like, okay, they're going to be dueling for that 1 seed. They're going to be getting the attention of who has the pressure to be successful.
That's going to be the
in the
bloodbath.
East, where the Cavaliers can kind of fly under the radar a little bit, still have a really good season, still be really successful, and surprise teams. I think that was huge for Donovan Mitchell. Like,
Yeah.
he had there was so much pressure on those Jazz teams because they were able to like be 1 seed in the West
Somehow.
like
Yeah.
be top team in the league.
I even think the 76ers have more pressure, which is awesome for the Cavs.
Exactly. I think when you look at the teams in the East, even the Nets,
Yeah, even the Nets have more pressure to succeed.
every single team, it seems, that is as good as the Cavaliers, or close to as good as the Cavaliers, has more pressure than the Cavaliers. And
Absolutely.
obviously,
Age helps a lot.
Age does help, because there's such a large window for this Cavaliers team, and I think that's really exciting. The fact that all of their starting 5, like
They're all under 27.
Donovan Mitchell 26, Garland 23, Mobley 21, Allen 24, LeVert is 28.
Dang it. Off by a year.
But you need
at least one guy.
yeah, you need a little bit of a veteran.
And then Caleb off the bench is the main vet, but 28 years old as your oldest starter. Crazy. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I love it. I love the way that this team's been built.
And they're very exciting for the future. Like, if I were to be like a new fan to the league, looking for a team to follow, knowing that
free agent.
knowing that they're good now and gonna be good for the next 10 years, like, realistically, the Cavaliers are probably one of the top teams that fit that bill.
In my mind, they have to be number one. They're gonna have the point guard of the future in Darius Garland.
Yeah,
He's gonna be like there's gonna be point guards that shoot better than him. There's gonna be point guards that are more athletic than him. But he's gonna be the CP3 of the next generation.
he's just gonna play the position better than anybody else in the league.
Just like Chris Paul did for the last generation. I really see him as that guy.
And
I love it. I love it. I love the Cavs team.
Yeah, I mean, not enough, too many good things to say about this team. I think last year they beat the Nets in the thing, and who they lose to? They lost to the Bucks, I think. They lost to the no. I'm not sure. They lost in the playoffs, obviously, in the first round. Didn't have any run, but I'm excited to see this team and what they can do in the playoffs. I think being the 3 seed is a huge advantage, because if they got a 7 seed and unfortunately had to play a Milwaukee, a Boston in the first round, they're gonna meet. They're gonna probably lose that series just because
probably.
I think they're not quite there with the Bucks and the Celtics yet. But I have them going to the Eastern Conference Finals as a little bit of a surprise pick. I definitely think they can win a round or two and shock some people.
Oh, for sure. Team that's gonna shock some people. Actually, a team that shocked me for the start of the year for how slow they started, but who have picked it up huge. New Orleans Pelicans. Why? Like you remember that they started this season off kind of mid, and then lately they've been incredible, and I think they're now, again, old stats, but they were 14-8. I think they're better than that now. 3rd in the West, a very good home team, and positive on the road. They were 8-2 in their last 10 when I wrote it down. So just they're being the team that I wanted them to be now, but they weren't in the beginning of the season when I was watching them. So going into this year, they were my must-watch team of the season. And in the first half of this quarter, they weren't that team. They did play a very fun game against the Lakers that we ended up catching a good amount of. But lately, they've been hot, and me haven't been watching. So that's my bad. And as a team that I said was a must-watch team, I haven't been following as much as I want to. But They're really starting to get hype, and the number one thing for me, 15-8, and number 2 in the West. So, number one thing for me is that Zion is a beast. I wrote it in all capitals in my notes because watching him play, you literally give him the ball and then he scores. He did that to Anthony Davis multiple times in that Lakers game where they literally just gave the ball to Zion and he just muscled his way right up and scored. He is so much fun to watch for that.
Seven players in double digits scoring.
Yeah. It's a scoring by committee team. Very fun, but like I think the Pelicans really should be running through Zion. Like, he's going to be so good. And if they weren't winning as much as they were, I'd be complaining because they're not running through Zion. But, like, it's so much fun to watch Zion, specifically. And it's just, like, defenders have a really tough time containing him. It's the Giannis effect of, like, defenders can't contain Giannis in a very similar way to that. Like, it's a Giannis / like, Shaq effect where he's too strong for everyone, and it's really fun to watch. But other questions remain about this team in my mind other than CJ. A big one for me is CJ the right guy for this team. Mm-hmm. Personally, I don't think he is.
Yeah.
Like, he's averaging, I think it's 18-6, which is good for CJ McCollum, but like as a guy that I see primarily as a shooting guard, or I've seen in his career primarily as a shooting guard, I'd like to see them with a more conventional point guard. But I have no real, like, trades lined up for that, so, like, I have no backup option. It's just...
They only acquired him last year, and their record is
very good.
So it's like,
so I can't complain too much.
Yeah, I feel like if it's a CJ experiment, they're still going to be testing it out for the next little while. One thing I'm on Basketball Reference, it's really cool to see is the Southwest Division. The bottom two teams in it, the Houston Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs, who were probably the top two teams in it for, the first 5 to 8 years watching the league. And now that the Pelicans, Grizzlies, and, the Mavericks are that third team, but Pelicans and Grizzlies with Ja and Zion being those top two teams in the division, it's really nice. I think the NHL more specifically is kind of shifting into its new era, even is in its new era with the young players kind of taking over, but the NBA still holding on to LeBron, Curry, KD, those kind of guys.
Just barely holding on.
But the league is in good hands, and I feel like the upcoming teams and the teams that we expect to be good for the next 10 years, it's going to make for a really fun league.
Yeah, and I definitely think the Pelicans are going to be one of those teams. Another thing I wrote down in the CJ McCollum thing is that I think they're dying for a traditional point. And then I wrote down 2 examples. I wrote down i.e. Chris Paul. He's my just conventional point. And then I also wrote down Lonzo Ball. Because, like, imagine Lonzo with this unit and passing it and dishing it. And
he left in free agency, right?
He was a restricted free agent and they just let him walk.
Yeah.
So they could have, but they decided no. And injury issues, obviously, like it turned out very good that they let him walk just because of the injuries and everything like that. But, like, imagine a healthy Zion as the point guard of this unit. Like, that would boost it to be really good.
Healthy Lonzo?
Healthy Lonzo. That's what I meant.
Well, I mean, Zion
as well.
He's been a good facilitator, like,
surprisingly. I read an article on Yahoo that was like, is Point Zion coming back?
Yeah.
Facilitating. He's averaging 4.3 assists per game as of Monday, December 5th. But it's like, we could start seeing a lot of games where he puts up over 5-6 assists per game. My last question mark about this team before I go into some of the trades are, and it's another question of, is it the right guy? Is Jonas Valanciunas the right center to pair with Zion?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, weird because he shoots great, but it's like, I don't know. Like, that's the feeling you get from him, because you'll read his stats and you'll be like, oh, of course, this is the guy to pair with him. He averages 40% from 3, 41.7 when I wrote it down. He averages 55. Yeah, 55.5 from field. So you look at it on paper and you think, oh, that is definitely a center that could go with Zion. He stretches the floor. He's a big body. But he only averages 0.4 blocks per game, which is lower than CJ McCollum.
Mm-hmm.
I think...
Yeah, they don't have a player over 0.8 blocks per game.
Yeah, and it's tough. Basically, my questions around them is just... it's not great defensively, and being a Raptors fan, Jonas Sanchez is not a defensive center.
Yeah.
His defensive skills are not up there. Floor stretching, I put a question mark, because he can He can stretch the floor really good, but like when I think Jonas Sanchez, I don't think a guy that's gonna drain threes on my head.
No.
So and then my third question is just they're not in my mind true championship contenders with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll immediately go on to my trades. My first one I'm going to talk about is the upgrade at center. The Pels grab Miles Turner. I think that would be a really
I think
interesting
JV still
fit.
has a lot of value. And
JV has a ton of value, and he's a good center. And
it's a good deep team too. It's not even in the case of where, okay, maybe we get a little bit deeper, we trade JV for a couple of pieces. Like, no. I really like the supporting cast of this Pelicans team as well, with Trey Murphy, Alvarado, Herb Jones, guys like that.
Yeah, I can
another really good young team.
Troy Murphy's especially been crazy good. He's averaging 41 from 3, 48 95% free throw shooter, and he's averaging 13 points a game. It's just I think
Trey Murphy's effective field goal percentage is 61%.
That's insane.
This season.
So good. So I think like moving JV for a Miles Turner, because it's just like it's a lateral move more so, but it's just like I think that is the type of player that they need, a bona fide shot blocker.
Mm-hmm. And he can stretch the floor better than JV.
And if you think Miles Turner, you think 3-point shooter. Mm-hmm. At least I do in my mind, and I have for his entire career. So I think that would be a really fun move. You don't really have to do too much crazy with that. I just think Miles Turner and Zion front court would be crazy. That'd be so much fun. So that's one of my trades. Second trade I have, another big impact move, is a Jordan Clarkson pick. You're in their roster right now, and you see good scorers. But if you go to their bench, mm-hmm. their secondary shooting guard right now is Dyson Daniels. And is Dyson Daniels the guy to be the secondary bench shooting guard? He's definitely like the 9th, 10th man in their rotation. Yeah. So it's like, I think a Jordan Clarkson would slot in perfectly. You could play him at the 6th man. Once that bench unit comes out, he's the perfect leader for that, and he's a guy that you could give the ball to score, because you can't trust Jose Alvarado to score every night. You can't trust.
It's like very good timing on that, because he just dropped like.
Yeah, I know. He just dropped a
38 or something
40-point game, and that's why I say you can't trust him, because it's like he's not gonna do that all the time. He averages like 12 points a game, so it's like I think Jordan Clarkson would be the perfect spark plug off the bench. He'd be a good. I don't know. I feel like a thing for this Pelicans team is that once the starters go off the bench or go to the bench, if they could come back on the floor with just as much energy as they left with, then I think that's great. I think if the bench unit doesn't lose any steam, then this Pelicans team is a legit contender, and I think Jordan Clarkson is the guy to be their 6th man. And my last trade for them is just the Pelican side of the Devontae Graham trade. Just I wanted to touch on it quickly. This is the other deal. The other end, Pelicans could use a bit more depth behind Zion specifically, as when you look at their minutes, their backup power forward is Najee Marshall. Not horrible, but like it's Najee Marshall.
Yeah.
I think that if the Raps trade away Thad Young and Danilo Banton is just the kind of guy that makes it worthwhile for the Pels. Thad Young to play backup, Banton can replace Daniels at their backup shooting guard, maybe even. And then the Pels trade away Devontae Graham and 2 second-rounders, potentially a protected first, but I doubt it. I just say a protected first because Thad Young got a protected first, so I feel like if we could get one back for him and Banton. But if we could get 2 second-rounders in Devontae Graham, I think that would be a good package. Nothing crazy, though. That's definitely the least exciting trade. Mm-hmm. But an exciting team.
Yeah. I mean, great probably segment. The most media covered team in sports, even the Los Angeles Lakers, who started the season very bad. They were at their worst point. They were 2-10.
Ooh, I didn't even realize it got that bad.
They were 2-10, and sitting at 2-10, it looks like a lost season, but
it looks like their pick is gonna be the Victor Wembanyama pick.
But they've actually been able to scratch up, a little bit. They're 10-13
Well, they
now.
went on a really good run in their I think I had
they're 8-3 in their last 11.
8. Yeah, they're 7-3 in their last 10. What I had written down, so they won their last one.
So I mean, this Lakers team, I feel like they're proving a little more to me that they have the tools that can be a good team. Like when I looked, the last time we talked about this Lakers team, we kind of were just, dogging on them and didn't really have much faith in them. But I feel like a big part of that, I'll get into Anthony Davis, who, as of the time I wrote these stats, was averaging 28.6 points, 12.8 rebounds, 1.4 steals, 2.4 blocks, shooting 59% from the field, 83% from free throw.
Yeah. He went on a little MVP stretch.
So you said at the start of the year, or at least the last time we talked about basketball, that they need an MVP season from Anthony Davis to be able to, compete. And I agree with that. And, I feel like LeBron's going to go. LeBron's going to get his stats, but it's really up to AD that pushes this team to that next level. We saw when they won the championship, AD made a
lot of clutch shots.
AD was able to be, a good number one even option. Like him and LeBron were just a great dynamic duo, two superstars doing their thing. And it was really fun to see that championship. And he hasn't really gotten back to that form. I think, he set the bar really high for himself there. After they won that championship, he was being thrown in top 3, big man conversations with Giannis and
and I remember going into that season, he's in top 5 player in the league debates.
Yeah, and
which it feels like
he definitely lost that, but he's regaining momentum, especially in the big man case. I feel like a healthy AD is a top 3 big man in the league. I mean, it's him.
I can't think of another guy.
It depends if you're gonna categorize Giannis as a center.
Yeah, versus versus
a 4.
Here, I'll say it like this, where it'll make sense. Is that with his the play they need from him, they need him to be on the level of a Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, and so far he's been that.
LeBron doing his thing as well, though, averaging 26.1, 8.6 rebounds, 6.6 assists, 1.2 steals. Disappointing a little bit. He's shooting 33% from 3, only making a third of his attempts from there. But the team in general is not a good free throw shooting team. Collectively as a team, they're 32%, which is 28th in the league.
Oh, that's so bad.
But they are 9th in the league in 2-point percentage, and
with the guys they have,
very surprisingly, 8th in the league in free throw percentage
with Russ and
LeBron. It doesn't. It's kind of confusing.
They wouldn't strike me as a team to do that. But
I think a big story though. Only started 3 games all season. He's grown into a 6-man role.
Yes.
Russell Westbrook averaging 14.6, 5.3, 7.7 assists, and a steal.
I love it.
He's grown into, the last time I checked, the odds-on favorite for 6-man of the year.
Yep, last time I checked, he was also the odds-on favorite. Now let me ask you a quick question. Why the hell didn't they do that last year?
Yeah. I think it's just because
I guess
on paper, you're in your head but if we have all 3 of them on the floor at the same time, all starting, that's giving ourselves the best chance to win. But I think this year has proven that, Russell Westbrook is still an effective player, but obviously not the same,
It's just play style. It's
30-point triple-double kind of guy anymore. He's not going to do that for you, but he's able to,
unless you're a bottom feeder team, then he will.
He's going to be able to be a really good facilitator off the bench, 7.7 assists. He does his thing when it comes to that, and a good defender as well. Just a good energy guy. And another thing too is he can find himself in foul trouble as well.
Oh yeah.
And he can turn the ball over more than he needs to. So by limiting his minutes and making him a 6-man, I feel like limiting those mistakes is a really really big thing. And I think it's contributing. I think if you pose the question of what's helping the Lakers more, 6-man Russ or MVP AD, obviously you're gonna say MVP AD, but both things have been really helping them kind of get back on their feet, and now
they're almost a 500 team after starting 2-10. 6-man Russ, maybe is more of a factor in becoming a 500 team.
Yeah.
Although at the time of recording this, I saw a stat that was like AD in his last 2 games is averaging 49 points a game and 12 rebounds and 3 blocks, and it's like, that's a pretty big factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're gonna be honest. But no, I love
They beat the Bucks.
Yeah,
a huge win for them. AD had like 44.
Yeah,
something
AD's
in that game.
But I'm loving them playing better.
But the fact
lately.
that they can go head to head with a team like Milwaukee and get the win proves to me that that they believe in themselves to win games, which is something that I honestly don't think that they had last year and don't think they had at the start of this year. I think, they went into games knowing that they're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
Whereas now I feel like they feel like they can win games, and that's pretty much, that's not all you need, essentially.
I mean, when you have LeBron and AD.
But when you have LeBron, AD, and Russ just believing in yourself and playing every possession like it's, the most important possession of the game is really important for them. A big addition, Lonnie Walker.
Yeah, he's been crazy good.
He's been a really good second scoring option for them. Not second scoring option.
Third scoring option in the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
He's the third scorer for them.
But just like a guy that can take that shot. He's averaging 16.7 points, 0.9 steals, shooting 39% from 3,
which
and
they need.
86% from the line. So really good. He's just been able to, do his thing as a good scoring player. I think when they brought him in, that's what they were looking for, and he's provided that. Austin Reeves in his second year, he's averaging 10.4.
He's been up and down a bit lately. He went on a good stretch about a week ago, and recently has kind of cooled off a bit more. He's in free agent in a lot of fantasy basketball leagues because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely a guy for free, in a
his percentages are good too.
Yeah, in a fantasy basketball league, if he's in your free agency and you have a guy that you could
deep
drop,
league too.
Deep league, he's a waiver wire guy that you could look at for just some solid shooting percentages if that's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And
39% from 3.
And occasionally he does put up a good scoring night.
Yeah, and when the Lakers need him to, it seems. 39% from 3, 91% from the line, 53% from field goal. So, if he gets that 3-point up a little bit, he could be a 50-40-90 player, which is weird to think.
Yeah, Austin Reeves.
And then another note I have, Troy Brown Jr. has been solid. Good little bench piece. Pat Beverly has been a little disappointing.
He's been Pat Bev.
I think I don't know what they're gonna do with him. I've seen him swirl in a couple trade things. I feel like everybody on the Lakers
says free Pat Bev or something like that. I think he wants to get traded. I think you can look up an image of it where he's where he's petitioning to get off the team,
which is interesting because he seemed very happy at the start of the season.
Yeah, to be a Laker, and it's I don't understand. I don't understand where it all went wrong. I feel like is he still a starter for them?
Mm-hmm.
I like that then. He was never gonna work with Brody in the starting lineup. That was never gonna work.
No.
I don't even know why they tried it. I think Darvin Ham, is that his first name, Darvin or Darwin?
I think it's Darvin.
Yeah, Darvin Ham. I think the biggest thing for moving Russ to the bench is that he's not afraid of losing his job because he literally just got it.
Yeah.
So I think last year it might have been a case, Vogel last year, where he was afraid of moving Russ to the bench because he might have lost his job for playing a star player on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Ham this year realizes that I'm not going to get fired. Let's put Russ on the bench. And now they're winning. So I don't know. From an outsider's perspective, that's how I see it.
Mm-hmm. Another, Thomas Bryant, who had a
good
game last night against the Cavaliers, 17 points, I think, his season high. Him and Schroeder, who were both injured to start the season, have come in and been good contributions, adding something to the team. I don't think taking anything away.
Looking back on them being 2-10, looking at who they were missing, it's it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And just how the team was playing.
Around.
So now, I don't know. I think the Lakers, I said Lakers as the 10 seed, as the play-in team, just sort of as I'm a LeBron stan, but now I fully believe that they can push for that.
No,
that play-in.
I said 10 seed because I see them above the other teams in the West, and I still do, fighting for the play-in spots.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So we could quickly run through some of our award candidates, unless you have anything more to say about the Lake Show.
No.
But I'll get into the awards.
Well, I'll just say their defense, the Lakers, it was 11th at the time that I wrote this down. They, gave up 116 points to the Cavaliers, so their ratings have gone down a little bit. But their defense is kind of somewhat coming back to what it was when they were a championship team. I think that was kind of where they sucked last year. They weren't good defensively, they weren't good offensively. When they won the championship, they weren't even one of the league's best offensive teams.
No, they were the best defense, or they were top 5 defense.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's another big part. If they can crack back into the top 10 defensive teams, then for sure I see the Lakers as being able to squeak into the playoffs. And then when you have LeBron on your roster,
you can do
in a 7-game series, who
and
knows where he can take you.
Most of their games are blowouts too.
Yeah.
Which I don't really know what you can get from that, but that's what you can look for in a Laker game, is that they're not going to play too many close ones.
Except they blew it to the Pacers.
And then the Pacers game they blew is the 1 or 2 only close games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's now it for the Lakers. We'll get into our award predictions, and we'll run through these a little quicker because this has become a very long episode. So we'll just run through them like this.
Mm-hmm.
So my MVP this year, and I think not everyone's. I guess more so recently there's been a bit more discussion, but who I think everyone's MVP should be is Jason Tatum. Best record in the league, best team offense in the league. His true shooting percent is 62. Tatum's been that guy. He's been him this year. And I think once we get to the end of the season, the story of this year is going to be the story of Tatum taking that step.
Yeah.
So that's my pick. My runner-up's Giannis, just because it's the Bucks and it's Giannis.
Yeah, I have Luka just because he's been crazy, and I want to get his up-to-date stats because I know that.
Well, he just had a triple-double last night.
Had another triple-double last night.
Last night being Tuesday, the 6th of December.
Mm-hmm. Well, Luka on this season, he's averaging. Where am I? He's averaging 32.9 points per game, 8.6 rebounds a game, and 8.7 assists with 1.7 steals and 0.7 blocks,
which is surprising for
his career high so far. He lost me a category in fantasy basketball last year. He had a 3-block game or something like that. But yeah, Luka's just big for me. Is just obviously the Celtics and the Bucks are the top teams in the league. When I think of MVP, I think of who's most valuable to their team, and Luka with 4.6 win shares leads the league. So without Luka, the Dallas Mavericks would not be the same team. And I don't know, I'll keep beating the dead horse of Luka's eventually going to win an MVP.
So you want to pick it?
So I want to be ahead of it.
I get it a lot. And if you take the words MVP literally, it's Luka. He's literally the most important, the most valuable player, because when you look at the Mavericks, who is more valuable to their team than Luka is to the Mavericks?
Mm-hmm.
No one. But I like that pick. I like Luka or Tatum. Depoy, I have Giannis. He's been that guy. The Bucks have top 5 defense, and he's been a top 5 defensive player. The stocks haven't been there, the steals and blocks, but they'll come as the season goes. And if they're a top defense without the steals and blocks from Giannis, once they come, no reason he's not going to be the Depoy. And my runner-up is Mobley, because I picked him to win it before the season started, and he's also been crazy.
Yeah, I just have AD just because his stocks have been there, 1.4 steals, 2.4 blocks, and just because, I feel like he deserves some consideration for the crazy season that he's having. Really not much more to it than that. A great defensive anchor who, has he won a Depoy in his career?
No.
So
100% has not.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because I think Draymond would have been winning.
Won a few, and then Kawhi won a few,
so
and then Gobert.
For a guy who's 4-time all-defensive team, 3-time block champ, to not have a depoy in his career.
And it's not like he's a block champ and like just a shot blocker. He's the defensive anchor. So no, I don't mind that pick one bit. Who do you have next? Rookie of the year. Rookie of the year, and again, should be everyone's. Other than injuries, Paolo Banchero.
Yeah.
If it's not him because of the injuries, then I think it will go, if Paolo doesn't qualify because of injuries, it'll go to Benedict Mathurin, because he's been really good, and he's been shooting really good, which is a thing for rookies, especially if they can average a lot of points and shoot well. I think they'll get heavier consideration for Rookie of the Year.
Paolo averaging 21.8 points, 6.5 rebounds, 3.6 assists.
Still crazy.
0.8 steals, 46% from the field. He's just been the best rookie, I believe.
Yep. Me too.
Obviously he's been thrusted into a position where he's able to be a 21.8 point per game scorer. Like he's getting the shots to be the leading scorer on the Magic. But he's thrived in that position, and then I feel like he's just been the best first year player in the league.
Yep, absolutely.
Most improved player.
Most improved, it's got to be Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah.
And we don't have to go any further than that.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jazz are going to fall off, and they're going to continue to fall off because they have been lately.
Yeah.
But, just so long as he's their number one option, it's going to be him.
22 points a game, 8.5 rebounds.
So good.
53% from the field, and 83% from the free throw line. He's just been very solid. And, yeah, another guy who's been thrust into a position where, there's really no expectation for this Jazz team. He can kind of be that number one scoring option, where he's always been a complementary piece in his career to this point. But he's proving that, he's capable of being a top scoring option and really accelerating the rebuild that the Jazz have, knowing that they have a piece like this that they can not necessarily build around as the main piece, but
build around in some form or fashion.
He's going to be a big part of the new era of the Jazz.
Yeah.
And I like the fit personally. Like, he was drafted by the Bulls, who are one of your favorite teams, so you quickly became
and he was that guy in his rookie season, and then they brought in Doyle and tanked Lowry,
killed him, and then went to Cleveland and was solid in Cleveland.
It was just he was playing out of position, and so people were like, it was more so an experiment than a legitimate attempt to have Lowry be Lowry.
But now that he's in Utah, I really like the fit, and he's allowed to
playing his game.
And I don't know why, but I feel like him and Utah kind of it makes sense.
It works. The chains are off. He's allowed to play his game. And this is a hot take. I like the Utah Jazz jerseys. People hated on them coming into this year. They're plain. They look nice. When you watch them play, those Jazz jerseys look nice.
I just think it's because
they look modern.
The last era of the team was done fairly well, I believe.
It was done really well. The green look. But it's just I love how modern the Jazz's uniforms feel. Anyways, what do you got next?
Six man.
Six man for me.
Russ.
Yeah, Russ. And then my runner-up is Benedict because, again, he's been incredible. He's shooting really efficiently and scoring, but six man is Russ because he's been awesome.
And I have Christian Wood just because I didn't want to pick Russ.
Fair.
But Christian Wood, 16.8 points, 7.7 rebounds.
I thought he would have started.
Yeah, I don't know if Christian Wood's going to be the sixth man all year.
Yeah.
I would love to see Russ win it as well.
It would just be such a feel-good moment. And then once, eventually Russ does his Hall of Fame speech, that'll be a really, feel-good part of it, I think. So, yeah, most improved. And then what's left? Coach of the year?
Yeah.
My coach of the year, Joe Mazzulla for the Celtics. They went through all that offseason controversy. He kind of had just to step up and figure it out, and figure it out he has.
I have Mike Brown of the Sacramento Kings, just because he's gotten the most out of his team, first-year coach. If they make the playoffs, I feel like it's probably his award.
If they make the playoffs, it's his award.
And that being not the play-in, I feel like if they're a top 6 team in the West, it's got to be Mike Brown. I just, and going back to the Terrence Davis clip that I talked about with the little coaching moment on the sideline, it's stuff like that that can really, change the culture in a team. And I think he's a big, he's got to be credited the most, I would say, when it comes to Sacramento's success.
For sure.
And you talk about Mathurin, I'll just go through his stats just because he's both the sixth man and rookie of the year.
So
honorable mention.
I didn't write down his stats, so it's a good thing.
He's at 18.5 points, 3.9 rebounds, shooting 39% from 3, 80% from the free throw line. So yeah, he's been good. Just other little tidbits. Karl Anthony Towns out 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's rough.
The Timberwolves are 11-12, 11th in the West.
A little disappointing.
Definitely disappointing.
For where I had them, yeah.
It feels like I guess Pat Bev was a part of the Gobert trade, but I would have said everyone would have benefited if Pat Bev had stayed in Minnesota, both the Lakers and the Timberwolves. But yeah,
that's what it looks like.
I don't know. It's been a good season.
It's been a hype season.
Lots of players averaging,
this is the most
career numbers. It feels like
there's a stat I saw
30
recently.
point scores.
Yeah, since 1961, since Wilt averaged 50.
Mm-hmm.
Really exciting season. The scoring is back. I feel like, I don't know, in the last 2 seasons, the scoring wasn't as much as it is now.
Because I feel like teams were just hucking up threes, and
it
was like they were either gonna have an inefficient game where they put up like between 100 and 110, or they're just gonna blow up and
score 80.
Yeah.
So I think this year we're getting more accustomed to this 3-point generation, and players are adjusting, and we're seeing it. And
if this is any indication of the next, era of basketball, I think we're
going to be entering our most exciting era, without a doubt. And I am more than happy to be covering it.
Yeah, myself as well.
Thank you guys for joining us for episode 7 of the Sports Podcast. A bit of a long one for only one sport, longest we've ever talked about.
Hope you guys like
sport.
basketball.
Yeah, this will be for the hoop heads out there. So thank you guys very much for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.